I'm in what might be the most beautiful part of the British Isles you've never heard of. I'm exploring the Channel Islands of Guernsey and its tiny neighbour Sark for the first time. Tucked right between England and France, this is an adventure full of surprises, from incredible food, fascinating history, stunning beaches, and an entire island with no cars. This is a place which is familiar and yet so different, right on your doorstep. So let's go and explore. But first, let me tell you how to get there. So we flew from London Gatwick with a local airline called Aurigny. You can fly from other UK airports if that makes more sense to you, but this was the plane that was going to take us there. I think you guys might say it's teeny tiny, but I'm used to flying on much smaller than this to get home. And after an easy boarding process, and then waiting for a plane to land, it wasn't long before we were off down the runway and into the air, above the clouds, flying over England and across the English Channel. After a quick wave hello to my family, that's the island that I grew up on, by the way, that's Aurigny, Guernsey came into our sights and it was time to land. A very smooth flight, a very easy flight, and we were in Guernsey, ready to explore. First up, the little chapel. I had to come to this place. A super unique thing to do. Not only is it one of the smallest chapels in the world, it might just be one of the most beautiful. Okay. It's not quite like the Sagrada de Familia in Barcelona or the Notre Dame in Paris, but check this out. Have you ever seen a chapel like this? I said it was one of the smallest in the world, I wasn't lying, but it's deceptively small. It's over 3 levels, but what it certainly is absolutely stunning. Look at that. The walls are covered in broken pottery. Every single wall in here is covered in broken pottery, and it just gives it such a unique look. Kind of Gaudi-esque in Barcelona, but I think this one has a bit more charm, if I'm honest. But I said it's deceptive. Look at this. You go down into the depths of the little chapel. You come down the steps, you think it's over, but it reveals more little altars. Again, so ornate, so pretty. Look at that, all different colours of pottery. It's just drop dead gorgeous. I've never seen anywhere like it. And then it goes on and on and on. And that's it. Have you seen anywhere like that? Anywhere, totally unique. And I just thought we'd stop off on our way into town, so I'll catch you guys there. I've made it to the hotel. It's called Firmin Valley, and I'm pretty happy because it's one of the best rated hotels on the entire island of Guernsey. And I think I've lucked out with the room too. Let me show you it. We start off with huge double bed flanked with lights either side and a gorgeous piece of Guernsey artwork. But we have lots of storage space for all of your clothes and your bags, and inside the cupboards you also have the kettle, teas and coffees as you would expect. Hairdryer, important for those of you who want it. And then, yeah, all of the storage area and safe. You have a big TV in the corner with Sky TV as well. Little drawing area with mirror, telephone, water, everything you could need. Little seating area that you can sit down and read the book, read your hand-picked hotel's book. And then the best part about it is the balcony. Because not only can you sit on the balcony in the sun, you get the gorgeous views down through the trees, all the way down to the ocean. And I think it's going to be a nice hotel. There's, of course, tons of amenities in the hotel. You have restaurant, the pool, cafe, you name it, you will find it here. So I think it's going to be a nice stay. But we're here to explore Guernsey, aren't we? So we should get out whilst the weather holds and see a little bit of this island. All right, I'm in the town of St. Peter Port, the main town of Guernsey, the capital of Guernsey. I think everyone here just calls it town, to be honest. But I have to say, I'm on the high street, cobbled high street. How often do you see cobbled high streets anymore? But the UK has a reputation for the death of the high street. I think we're all pretty much aware of that, but not a bit of it in this one. It's so cute and it's so charming. It's so pretty. I mean, yes, it's full of shops, it's full of cafes, it's full of bars. It is full of brands that you recognize, Fat Face, M&S, you name them, they're here. But even those ones, to be fair, look very pretty in the old style buildings. I mean, St. Peter Port, the history goes back centuries and centuries, probably all the way back to Roman times. There was a trading post here. However, I think a lot of the architecture would be from the 1800s. And you can definitely see that in the stone buildings. But everything is so nicely done. I mean, you have bunting. I don't know if it's temporarily up or it's always up, but you have bunting lining the streets. You have hanging baskets and flowers. Everything is so clean. Everything is just so, as I say, it's just very, very tastefully done, very nicely done. Now, it's actually just a high street, which is nice to walk along, stop for a little coffee, stop for a little drink, get something to eat, and just walk around and enjoy it, take photos. It's a very photogenic place. I can see why when a lot of people come here. Of course you want to see the capital city, the main area, but I can see why they want to. Very nice place, but there is more to it. Of course, it's an island. So we're just gonna go down to the harbour now and have a look around, just see what's in the area, and then go and find out a little more of the history because, well, it's fascinating. I've just come onto the seafront. I mean, it's not far from the high street. It's just one street over, and it's very walkable. This place is very walkable. It's not that big. So whether you're coming by cruise ship or you're staying here for a weekend or longer, everything in St. Peter Port is very walkable. And you can walk all the way along it. It's very pretty, again, like the high street. But I just wanted to get back. I wanted to step back and get a perspective looking at St. Peter Port, because I thought it might be quite a nice view. And I wasn't wrong at all. You have a nice panoramic view. Almost feel like I'm in a bit of a novel, I must admit. Just the architecture here and the charm of it, it has that feeling. It's difficult to describe. I don't quite know how to put it into words, but I'm feeling something like that, and I like it, obviously. But here you have the marina in front of us, you have yachts and fishing boats. Obviously sea activities are big things here, being on an island, of course, and then beyond you have the harbour itself. But just the perspective of the buildings on the front and then rising up with the trees and the spires of the churches, it is a fantastic view. And I must admit, I have to be honest, St. Peter Port is nicer than I remember, actually. I haven't been here for a long, long time, but it is just such a pleasurable place to walk around and explore. And I am trying to do that. I'm trying to show you a few things around here in the time that we have. But look at it, come on. So pretty, so pretty. Now, I told you I wanted to tell you a little bit about the island's history, and a very specific period in history at that. And for that, I've come to this place, the Vallette Underground Military Museum. Because the islands of Guernsey, and actually the whole of the Channel Islands, were the only part of the British Isles occupied by the Nazis during World War II. And that has led to, obviously, a very interesting history now, and very sad stories, of course, from the time. Now, Aurigny, one of the islands of Guernsey that I am from, was evacuated once the occupation happened. However, residents in Guernsey stayed. So they actually had interaction with the Germans during World War II. But there's a lot of history that was left behind. There's bunkers, there's fortifications, there's anti-tank walls, and we will see some later in this video, hopefully this afternoon. And this military museum has been located in a tunnel area, which was used for storing fuel. Now, I've just been inside. I didn't want to talk filming inside because there are other people enjoying it. It's quite echoey in the big tunnel chambers. However, £9 admission, and if you're interested in that thing, and maybe even if you're not, because it is very deeply part of the island's history, maybe you should just visit anyway. But it is absolutely fascinating inside and far exceeded the expectations. Now, I've just been speaking to the owner, and he's put together an incredible collection of memorabilia and artifacts and things from the period. I mean, some of them are incredible, where there's badges, there's posters, genuine posters, interesting. There's propaganda pieces, there's uniforms and weapons and all sorts of things that you can imagine. But the one that stood out to me is actually not from Guernsey. It's from Aurigny, the island that I'm from. And there were camps there, unfortunately, labour camps, and much worse. And he has a uniform, I'm going to say, I think you can imagine it, where you can see it now on screen, but he has a uniform of one of the people who were in one of those camps in pristine condition. I mean, it's just mind-blowing, mind-blowing. So if you want to learn about it, I think you should read about it before you come here, and then go in and see some of the memorabilia and see this museum and see well, the tunnels that they built, and then an unfinished tunnel as well. You could see the excavation where they were using, unfortunately, slave labor to tunnel through the hard rock. I was going to say you can just imagine, but you can't. And as I say, it's something which lives here, it's something that's part of here, it's something that's important for this island in terms of to remember. And you have things like Liberation Day and celebrations for when the island was taken back essentially at the end of the war. But we should still remember this stuff too. And if you're interested in history, you should visit. It's a short walk from town, 10 minutes from town maximum, along the coast, very nice. Check this out. And then go for a swim, like I'm trying to find the courage to do. That's coming up next. Well, just across from the museum is this place, Vallette Saltwater Pools. And now I'm not looking for excuses, guys, but you can probably hear on the mic, it has turned very, very windy. And although I'd love to swim, the wind and the cold were a little bit off-putting. I wasn't exactly raring to get in, but I did get in. I have video evidence that I got in even. And you know what? Once I got in, it wasn't actually that bad. And it actually was very enjoyable, very refreshing. It wasn't that busy because it wasn't the perfect day, which was nice. But these pools are really nice. Yes, you can go in the sea, but here you have the facilities. And it is salt water. The tide brings the water in and out. So yeah, just another thing to add to your list when you're in Guernsey. I really enjoyed it, and I'm a sucker for jumping off and diving off things. Well, that was much better than I expected. It wasn't quite as bad once you get in. The initial shock, that's what got me. And then it was fantastic, so I definitely recommend it. It's completely free and a stone's throw away from town, so make sure you do that. There's even a little cafe here where you can get food and a coffee, of course. But for me, it's back into town and we're gonna go for lunch. Okay guys, lunch. And after the bathing pools, I had to put on a shirt because I've come to a place called the Old Governmental House Hotel. It's pretty fancy. It is a hotel, of course, and the bedrooms and the hotel itself looks absolutely incredible. It looks incredibly nice. I would love to stay here. However, it also has a brasserie as part of that. And again, a very pretty dining room. And I've just sat down to lunch. The first course has just arrived. We have mackerel, cucumber, and a horseradish cream with, I guess, herb oil in the middle. It looks so good. I did not expect it to look so good. And then bread, warm bread in a little skillet, and Guernsey butter. Guernsey is super famous for its dairy products, milk, cheese, butter. Butter is a must-try when you come to the islands. I think the first thing I'm going to do is try some of that bread. Brioche-style bread, look at that. And a little bit of that butter. I'm glad it's brioche because, again, more famous dishes in Guernsey. Guernsey brioche is another famous thing that you must try. So it's nice that they're not just doing standard bread, they're doing something which you're having a little bit of a taste of Guernsey. And with that butter is just so rich. Nothing like any other butter you will ever try. That's worth it just on its own, isn't it? But let's face it, it's all about the starter. The mackerel is smoked. Sometimes smoked mackerel, the cheap stuff, or smoked fish in general, it can be a bit overpowering, a bit bitter, not very good. Same with horseradish. If it's too overpowering or fake horseradish, you know, it's not great, but these two together, what a combination. It's so tasty. Genuinely, one of the best things I've eaten in a long, long time. And actually, the perfect combination with a glass of champagne. Main course has turned up, an absolute feast. Now, I mentioned the seafood in Guernsey, and you can't come to Guernsey without properly trying the seafood. So we have an absolute feast, a seafood platter. I have prawns, crab, scallops, mussels, all local, served with Guernsey potatoes, and a little side salad. But to be honest, I'm not that worried about that avocado side salad. I'm more focused on the seafood. Sweet, sweet mussels. Very good. Very, very good. Mussels are good, but come on, those grilled prawns. Just look at the size of them. Giant grilled prawns have my name all over it. Suck out the head juices, of course, and then get into it. It's on the shell, which might be a little bit annoying, you might think, but actually the shell gives so much flavour and keeps them nice and juicy. Look at that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a little cheeky. I'm going to dip it, because the mussels come in a lot of butter. I'm going to dip it in that seafoody butter. Now, the prawns and the mussels, delicious, of course, but the special part and what caught my eye on this one, and which is why I essentially have it, are the scallops and the crab, because crab around here, let me tell you, is incredibly good. And the scallops, I also know for a fact, because I've seen it, they dive and hand catch them off the coast of Guernsey. So I'm going to try a little bit of that crab. You can see that white crab meat, dressed, nice, picked and dressed as you would expect, very nicely in the restaurant like this. Until you've had fresh crab meat, you haven't lived. It's so good, it's so sweet, it's so fresh, and that makes all the difference with the seafood. The freshness, the fact that it comes from just over there, the fact that I can see the water, I can hear a water fountain, but I can see the ocean from my table right here, makes all the difference. And those scallops, you can see, have been pan roasted. You can see the golden colour on the outside. That is going to be divine. Oh yeah, what a lunch. Well, after lunch, I thought I'd come out for a walk off some of those calories. And the thing I'm learning about this place is the diversity of the landscape. You don't just have the golden sand beaches, which you do have, and that's where I'm walking towards, but you also have these rocky, stony beaches like this. And I'm thinking back to when I was a child, and I used to love going to the beach to lift up the rocks and go rock pooling to find different things and animals and limpets and whatever I could find under those rocks, and just thinking, how good would it be to go and do that here? Especially as a family activity, to bring a little bucket, fill it with some water and go down and look for crabs and little fish and whatever else, maybe a lobster even. What you can do it here. But it is just breathtaking, even when the weather is not playing, not fairly, but it's not playing on my side. The clouds are coming in, the wind is picking up, as I said. It is still drop dead gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. And you can see all the little rocks. Well, I mean, the tide is out and the tidal range here is big. The tide goes out far and it reveals all of these rocks, but then it also reveals these little islands, little rocky outcrops just off the island. And you know what I've just seen? Or did I lose it? Oh no, here. Here you go. This is something that I love to find. So all down here, especially on the low tides, you'll find abalone, ormers. Just look at the inside of that shell, mother of pearl. Now, they live out there, you can eat these. It's quite a delicacy, but the inside of their shells are stunning. Look at that, and I just found it, just down here on the rocks. That wasn't planted there, I promise you. I just glanced at it. But come on, guys, how beautiful is that? This is more like it, isn't it? We found how I think of the Channel Islands, the golden sandy beaches. I still maintain I have not found anywhere in the world that has better golden sandy beaches than the Channel Islands. Guernsey, Aurigny, Jersey, Sark, you name them, you're not going to find better beaches than this. Specifically for the sand, but also, I mean, come on. It's what? I know the weather's not perfect, but it is still 4 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, and there's no one here. Even in the summer, it's still pretty quiet in these places. It's incredible, incredible. The sand, look, let me show you. This bit is still a little wet from where the tide was here, but if you come to this stuff, you can see how golden and powdery this sand is. I mean, look at that. It just falls off the hand, so light and so fluffy. It's gorgeous. And then you have the sand dunes behind the beaches, which make it even more pretty. And then things like this, look, come over here. This is rock samphire. You can actually eat this. It's not the best, but you can eat this. And then up there, you also have fennel grown as well. So you get the smell of the fennel in the wind. It is a fantastic place to be. I say, and I think I still believe, despite all of my travels, when the sun is shining and the weather is good, you cannot beat this. And to think it's only 45 minutes, 50 minutes at a push from London, a little bit longer from Bristol and a little bit longer from Manchester, but it's very accessible. To think it's only that close and not enough people come and see this, it's a bit of a shame, because you don't think of this when you think of the British Isles, but it is right here. I made it to Vazon Bay, and I promised you World War II history, interesting history, and I'm about to deliver it. Because I've come to one part of the bay where there is a fort called Fort Homé. It's actually a Victorian fort, but the Germans, when they came to the island, wanted to build a defense system across the island, and actually part of Hitler's Atlantic Wall. At one point, the Channel Islands was the most fortified place per square metre, or per square mile, however you want to look at it, on Earth. An absolutely insane amount of firepower and defensive systems were built into these islands, really because it was the one bit of the British Isles that Germany had, and they wanted to make sure they kept it. So when they turned up and they found these existing structures, like Victorian forts or Norman forts, why would you build from scratch when you can tag on? So you have German World War II bunker tagged on to Victorian fort. Quite an interesting piece of history, but quite surreal to walk around. Interesting to see now, but you have to bear in context or put into context why they're here. But you can literally see them next to each other, they connect. Now this defensive position was home to a searchlight, so you would have had different bunkers for different things. Some would have been coordinating structures, so maybe they see a ship on the horizon and they're using coordinations and different vantage points to calculate how far it is for the guns to fire out to. So other bunkers would house big guns. This isn't one of them. This one had the searchlight to do the spotting. Obviously at night you need the searchlight. These islands were a very strategic position in themselves because we're in the English Channel, obviously a very core route through into Europe from the UK and also through Northern Europe as well. So it was crucial that they built these structures, and you can come and have a look around them, walk around them. On this island, unfortunately, most of them, well, unfortunately if you want to go in, most of them have been boarded up, so you can't get in and explore. They are dangerous, I guess, but you can kind of see why they built them in these positions, in this position in general. You can see all the way across the bay on both sides, a very strategic viewpoint. If you were under attack, you're probably going to see it here first. It is a little surreal, I must admit. Stood here on a Victorian fort / World War II bunker and look at a stunning view like this across the bay. This is Vazon Bay, a huge golden sand bay which wraps around. But here, I mean, the bays just go on and on and on. You're literally walking around each bay. Definitely recommend it. I think this island is about a little bit of peace, a little bit of tranquility, getting away from the busy city life and coming to find a little bit of nature, a little bit of raw beauty, because it is raw beauty with the rocks and you can hear the sea and the seagulls. I mean, I live on an island, I live in Madeira, and for some reason there, when I'm walking by the coast, you don't smell the sea, you don't smell the saltiness of the sea. But as soon as I came here, you get the smell of it, you get that salt in the air, and it's a real nostalgic smell for me. So I really like that. But yeah, a great little afternoon walk. After the glorious lunch, definitely needed a bit of a walk. So why not walk through some of the bays, have a look at the history, get your camera out and take some shots, maybe get into the rock pools, and if the weather's better, stop for a swim.
Good morning, a new day, and we're going to leave Guernsey today. Well, kind of. We're going to go to the small island of Sark. So it's down to the harbour,
to catch the ferry. It's about 35 minutes, 40 minutes on the way over to Sark. It's a small island nearby, and it's one that I've been very much looking forward to when I found out about this trip, because I can't really believe it either, but I've never been, despite growing up in the Channel Islands. So excitement is high for this one. So it's onto the ferry and to make the short crossing over, hopefully in the calm seas. Welcome to Sark. 35 minutes over on the boat. Not too bad, I must admit. Sometimes I get seasick and I thought I was worried with the wind, but actually it was okay, you know, and a pleasant ride over. Fun fact about Sark, no cars. So your transport is quad bikes or tractors. So to go up to the town area, £1.80 and you get a tractor to take you up as a taxi, maybe? A nice little novelty experience, let's say, but pretty cool. I mean, the island is so small, it makes sense not to have cars on the island. So you're going to get unique experiences like this. All right, off the boat, up the hill on the tractor, and a short walk down to Stock's Hotel, the only 4-star hotel on the island of Sark. And I've got to say, it's pretty stunning, isn't it? I mean, just look at the building behind me. It's absolutely gorgeous with the foliage and the plants all over it. But all of the buildings here are stunning. The stone buildings, fantastic. There's a pool, there's a bar, there's a lounge, there's a library. Of course, there's a restaurant which we'll be eating in. Nestled in a little valley, right in the heart of the island. I think it's going to be the perfect base to explore. And they have a garden, they have a flower garden, a vegetable garden, and a herb garden. And all of the produce and the flowers comes into the hotel. There is a lot to see and do on this small island, and I'm looking forward to that. But before we do that, I think we need to see just how good these rooms are. So let me take you up, I'll give you a room tour, and then we'll get out and explore the island. Let's do it. All right, let's show you the room. It is a big one. I'm very happy with this room. You've got a huge double bed, big double bed, very comfortable. I've laid on it, but I won't jump on it for this one. TV, cabinets, large wardrobe with dressing gowns, and lots of storage space, of course, beach towels, dressing table, and they've actually given some of the chocolates made on the island and some Sloe gin. So if you wait until the end of this little room tour, we'll try those. Tea and coffees, as you would expect, with kettle. You have great view out onto the gardens, which is a nice touch. Lots of light coming into this room, which is great. But the bathroom, the bits I'm excited about. You've got a big bath. Look at the quality of that bath, amazing. Nice little decorations, nice little touches here, and then massive shower, which is great too. Great room, very happy about it, but more happy with the grounds and the other rooms in this hotel. I think it's going to be a great stay here on Sark, but I do want to try these chocolates. Let me show you this. Chocolates made on the island. We can get into those. What have they given us here? Oh, we've got 2 in there, look at that. Handmade, homemade, on the island. And then some of this Sloe gin with a very nice little glass. Well, we should be fancy, shouldn't we? Put it on the base and then pour some of that in. Oh, perfect. 1 glass of Sloe gin. It might be a bit early for this, but we've just arrived on the island, so why not? Look at the colour. Made from sloes, picked on the island. So you're not going to get much more local than that, are you? Oh, that is good. Very, very good. And then the chocolates. Double chocolate. Those chocolates are fantastic. What a welcome. However, there's a lot of this island to explore. I mean, it may be a small island, but there's a lot to explore. So let's get out and see it.
Now, unfortunately,
I had a bit of a disaster with this one. I actually lost the memory card with all of this footage of exploring Sark. And I'm really devastated about that because it was genuinely one of the best days that I've had in a long time on my travels. But I have enough footage, thankfully, to tell you a little bit about what I did and convince you that a trip to Sark is worthwhile. So here we go. Now, I told you that tractors were the form of transport here, and that's true. However, there is another form of transport, and we had the pleasure of experiencing it, and that is horse and cart, if you can believe. I mean, you can see why there's tractors, and you can see why there's horse and carts, because there's no tarmac on the road, there's no cobbles. It's just essentially a mud road or a dirt road. And yes, okay, the weather wasn't perfect for this activity. It would have been much nicer if it was sunny, warm and blue skies, but the rain didn't dampen how magical this experience was, coming through these, I'm going to call them country lanes because that's how they feel, but these are the roads in Sark. But yeah, just taking this horse and cart ride, I'm going to remember that for a long time. However, unfortunately, the weather was pretty grim for the rest of that day, but the good news was, the next day the sun was out and it was good enough to go and hire a bicycle to explore the island. Now, the place I hired the bicycle from was on the High Street. Yes, this is the High Street in Sark, if you can believe it. But it was called Avenue Cycles. Good prices, you can get e-bikes, but to be honest, it's not really hilly. The normal bike is okay. And they have a good selection, a wide selection. And if you ask me, this is a must-do in Sark. It's one of the best ways to see the island, and this is what made it so much fun. This is what it's like to ride down Sark's High Street. Bicycles, mobility scooters, and horse and carriage. Traffic jam, Sark style. And after that, to be honest, I needed to get away. It was too busy here. So it was time to head out of town and towards a place called La Coupe, probably the most famous site on the island of Sark. If you look at any of the marketing material, you'll see this place. The ride out there was stunning. I mean, I love these little roads, trees arching over the road as well, and it just gets more and more wild as you get out towards the coast. So wild, in fact, I found a little snack on the way. There's one of the perks of exploring the countryside. That is in the hedgerow right next to the path, so why not? Oh, so good! Anyway, the island is so small that it wasn't long until I made it to La Coupe. Perhaps not at its best in this weather, but still, I think, absolutely gorgeous. La Coupe is a very narrow isthmus, or land bridge, that connects the two main parts of the island, Great Sark and Little Sark. It's a high ridge, only about 91 metres or 300 feet long, but it features a sheer drop of nearly 100 metres, 330 feet, on both sides down to the sea. Before 1900, there were no railings like there are now, and the path was just a narrow dirt track, only a few feet wide in places. It was so dangerous, apparently, in high winds, it was unsafe for local islanders, and people used to crawl across on their hands and knees to avoid being blown over the edge. Now, obviously, the path has been widened and there are railings, so it's much safer. It's a great spot, fantastic, fantastic views, and simply just a nice spot to take some photos. And after a quick pit stop at Cara Chocolates for a hot chocolate, where they make the chocolates handmade and homemade, of course, it was time to jump back on the bike and explore another part of the island called Window in the Rock. Window in the Rock is another of Sark's famous and unique landmarks. It's a very popular spot to visit, and you can get there through a wooded path which takes about 10 to 15 minutes from one of the main roads. When I got down there, I found one of these signs saying warning danger. Now, it's not dangerous, but obviously it's a cliff edge, so you do need to be careful. But this was actually created in 1853. It is man-made, and it was made at the time to boost the island's new tourism industry. So he cut a window in the rock to create a perfect frame for the viewpoint over the coast and the sea stacks, as you can see. It is really, really pretty. I mean, it was windy, it was very windy, but that didn't take anything away from it. And I was here all on my own. Alright, there was more to show, obviously, but I didn't have the footage. So it was back to the hotel and into the bar, into the pub inside of the hotel for a quick pint before dinner. very relaxing after an enjoyable day. Anyway, I'll catch you in the restaurant. Back in the hotel for dinner. I have to admit, I caught the sun today, but a great afternoon. It is a small island, but I had an absolutely incredible day going around on the bike, going along the coast, stopping off at all the pretty viewpoints. It was a genuinely fantastic day here on Sark. I can't believe, growing up in the Channel Islands, this was my first visit and I've never been here before. What have I been missing out on? Anyway, dinner is in the hotel tonight, in Stock's Hotel restaurant. And I mentioned earlier that they have the veg garden and the herb garden. Most of the ingredients, maybe all of the ingredients in this dish, come from that garden. So this is butternut squash soup, it's a starter. We're going for a 3-course meal. So I thought I'd just bring you along, see if the food is as good as the hotel is and as nice as the rooms are. But it looks pretty, and you know, if it's being grown here, that kind of, well, we saw the pumpkins earlier, and you know, farm to table, I think it's something that is important for many things these days. So it's great to see them doing that. Oh wow, come on. Normally I don't order soup, to be honest. Soup isn't really an interesting thing for me, I must say. But because I saw the pumpkins in the garden, loads of pumpkins in the garden, I thought I'd order it and give it a go. The flavour that comes out of that makes such a difference with it being fresh and being from the garden. Fantastic. The main course has turned up, and if it tastes as good as it looks, I think we're going to be in for a right treat. We have local sea bass. The Channel Islands are pretty famous for their seafood, I've told you that. But fish probably is the star of the show. So finally, it's great to try some of that. We also have more vegetables from the garden. We've got courgette, green beans, pepper, chicory, dauphinoise potatoes, wilted spinach, and then some of the pea shoots from the garden as well. It looks incredible. So I'm just gonna squeeze some of that lemon over the top of it and get into it. Oh man, local sea bass, incredible. The chef told me it was caught yesterday by a guy called Alan. I mean, that's what you get on these islands. You get that local touch. With the potatoes, with the vegetables fresh from the garden. We met the gardener as well. It's nice to have that farm to table here, right? That knowledge of where the produce comes from, the quality of the produce, everything is organic. We've eaten some good food here in Sark, and in Guernsey too, to be fair. But for me, the fish. When you get the fish right and you get the vegetables right to go with it, that's really difficult to beat. I said earlier, on a sunny day in the summer, the Channel Islands are hard to beat. When the food is this good, when the seafood is this good and this fresh, it's also hard to beat. It might be my favorite dish of the entire trip. Fantastic. And finally, the last course, dessert, is apple crumble. And I got to admit, it didn't come out how I expected. It looks gorgeous. I mean, the plate looks gorgeous, but the apple crumble looks gorgeous with ice cream on top. Guernsey ice cream, of course, on top. Wow. That cuts through beautifully. Wow. What's with this place? Every dish is an absolute winner. Pleasure. What a meal. What a little stay on this island at Stock's Hotel. And what a little island to explore. 35 minutes from Guernsey. Oh, you have to come here as a day trip, or you have to stay the night. You just have to come to Sark, don't you?
And that is it from Guernsey and Sark. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Leave a comment, let me know if you want to visit. And if you'd like to see more from the Channel Islands, you can find another video right here.